I'm ready to kick this off if everybody else is. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some part of your morning with us this morning. I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to see some familiar faces, and I'm welcoming those who have not been here before. Welcome. This is a brand new, brave new world that we're in, but for those who know me from my previous go round in this seat, I would think that 3 years ago, we would never have been able to do this. So in a matter of a few years, we have come really, really far to be able to communicate with each other in this method and in this way. So I'm hoping all of you have been healthy, that your families have been healthy, that you've been staying somewhat busy while indoors, but getting out and enjoying Olivet, walking into our parks, which is going to be one of our main themes today. We're going to be talking about our parks, but I'm hoping you've all been healthy. So I'm going to kick it over to Carly, I believe, or to Barb. Would either one of you like to make a statement or say something? Barb? Beverly, it's on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna actually just be on kind of monitoring the questions, and I'm gonna have Beverly speak to the people. And at this point, you don't want to see me yet this morning, so.
Okay, before we go though, I do want to make mention of two things that are really near and dear to my heart. Before I lose some of you maybe to go to do other things, I would like to mention two things. The first is, I can share my screen with you. This is the first. This is called Run for the Frontline. It is a virtual walk run that the City of Olivet is hosting in conjunction with the Foundation of Barnes Jewish Hospital. And as you can see, it is a run walk to provide meals for the healthcare heroes at Barnes Jewish Hospital, West County. And the reason we chose West County is because they were our original sponsor for Turkey Trot. And for those who are unfamiliar with Turkey Trot, it is a 5K walk run that the city does every Thanksgiving morning to raise for the Harvey Kornblum Food Pantry. And we feel right now is our opportunity and our turn to give back to Barnes Jewish West County Hospital, which has done so much and given so much to us, for us to have that successful Turkey Trot event. So sign up now. Go to the city's website, olivetmo.com/run-for-the-frontline. It's $10 per participant. You choose your route. You choose the time of the day and the day that you want to walk or run. There are some suggested routes out there for you, and just do it. If you don't walk and you don't run, but you still want to participate, your $10 will be very much appreciated. So there's that. And then there's one other thing that I forgot that I'd like to do too. Hold on. Okay, I just was told that if you register, you also get a $10 New Balance coupon to use at a New Balance store. The other thing that we're doing is we are doing Mayors for Meals. And Beverly has been really instrumental and helpful in getting this off the ground. It is, we're going to collect food on this coming Saturday from 9 to 3 at the community center. There will be National Guard people there to help you take things out of your car, put them into their truck, into the truck, and then they will take everything away for us. As everyone has been hearing on the news, food banks are really, really low on supplies right now. Now, more than ever, people need food. This is, as I said, we're in very different times right now. So anything you can do to help with this is very much appreciated. It's Saturday morning, 9 to 3 at the community center. Just drive up. If you have things in your trunk, just open your trunk and we can take the things out, or you can help take the things out, and the National Guard will load them directly onto the trucks And those trucks will take the food directly to the food bank. So there is that. And that's that. We'll get to those questions in a minute. So without further ado, now I'm going to turn it over to Beverly. So thank you so much for listening to my public service announcements. Beverly.
So much, Mayor. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Coffee with Mayor is always fun. And this is a brave new world we're in, as Mayor Springer mentioned. So today I'm going to be giving an update on the parks and then information on Prop C, which is coming to our ballots in June. So I'm going to begin sharing my screen. Here we go. I think I'm doing this correctly. So please bear with me as we go through this. Make sure I'm coming back to the right place. I think I'm doing it right. Okay. And I don't see what I'm supposed to see. Just one moment. I see it. All right, terrific. So we're going to learn a lot today about Prop C, but before we get into that, I wanted to give everyone a little bit of a status update of what we're doing in our parks right now, because it is unusual times. We have the stay-at-home order and what exactly is going on. So I wanted to share with you that we are very appreciative to everyone following our social distancing requirements in the park. We've been able to keep our parks open the entire time during the stay-at-home order, and we're very, very proud of that fact. And I appreciate all of our residents helping us do that. Sadly, we did have to close the restrooms, the drinking fountains, and the playgrounds, but the trails and the rest of the parks and open spaces are all open, and we are committed to keeping it that way throughout the stay-at-home order. So thank you. This is also our busiest time in the parks. Spring and fall are the times that we do a tremendous amount of work in our parks. And we're going through and maintaining all of the same things that we do in the springtime. We have new protocols. Our staff are grappling with those and making sure that they're keeping their distance. We have volunteers that are helping out. They're also keeping their distance and wearing the appropriate protective gear. But we have to keep things moving along, or we will end up in a much worse situation. So we've turned on our irrigation. We've done our backflow testing. The fountains are actually getting up and running this week. You'll start seeing the fountains again. A lot of planting is going on. We still have to take care of those ball fields. We still have to do the brush clearing. We do a lot of repairs in the springtime. So that's all still happening. You'll see the crews out there, and we're so pleased to be able to keep the wheels on the bus during this time. This is also a time for some of our ongoing projects. So I have two here for you that today to talk about a little bit. The first one is managing our urban forest. We have a remarkable number of trees in our parks, and we have to care for them. So right now we have a new horticulturalist, Brian Azcona, that a lot of you will see out in the parks, and hopefully as we progress through the stay-at-home order, you'll be able to meet him in person in the future. But we're doing a lot of tree replacement, trees that have been damaged through the storm, or through storms, or through disease, or perhaps were not planted, the appropriate tree wasn't planted in the correct conditions for it to grow. So we are really stepping up our trees. You'll also be learning a lot more in the next couple of months about, we have a lot of ash trees that are going to have to be removed. So we'll be doing a planting program to start planting before those trees are removed. So you'll start seeing that. Same with Bradford pears. And then we also have our Weed Warrior program that's been going on since 2015. And in the areas where we're removing the honeysuckle, we are now doing a really concerted effort to replant those areas so that the honeysuckle doesn't return, but also so that we can increase our biodiversity, increase our native plantings, and we are following the Parks Master Plan to do that. And you'll learn a little bit more about that in our presentation. So I have a couple quick pictures to kind of share with you what's been going on with this. So in Warson Park is where we kicked off our honeysuckle removal with our Weed Warriors in December 2015. We're now up to 6 areas in Warson Park. So I'm going to show you area 1 and area 4. So December 2015 was our very first day where we faced a wall of honeysuckle. And then by that, coming out of the winter, we had that area cleared. And this picture was taken last week. And you can see here that the native plants are established. It's absolutely beautiful. And this now extends along the entire length of this trail through Worson Park. So I encourage you all to go see it. Another exciting development is Area 4. This is the end of the trail as you leave the plateau of Worson Park and head down to the Old Saints. This is what it looked like in the summer of 2015. It was almost an impenetrable layer and people were afraid to walk through there. And following our first clearing in the spring, we started work in March. By May, this is what it looked like. And now this picture was taken last week. And this is looking in, you can see that whole forest area has been cleared out. We have native plants coming in, and we now have volunteers building a path in there so you can actually walk through this forest and experience it and start learning more about the native plants. So I'm very excited about these areas, and I encourage you all to go out through Worson Park and experience them for yourself. And you may get some ideas of what you can do in your own home. So moving forward with that, why are we taking care of these parks? Why is it so important? Well, we are really fortunate in Olivet to have a wonderful park system. We have 5 parks, and we have over 120 acres of parks and open space for our residents that we care for. And in our parks, I'm hoping you'll be able to see if I zoom in on this a little bit. We have Stacy Park is the park that probably most people have heard of. Stacy Park is so large and it has the capacity for so many people to use it that it operates like a regional park. And this is a park that's owned by the city of St. Louis. However, the city of Olivet leases it. We have for many years. We intend to continue in the future, and we maintain it. Then we have our neighborhood parks. Our community parks. So Worson Park is a community park. So it's smaller than a regional park, but it is still a large park. So Worson Park is 17 acres. It's a pretty sizable chunk, and it functions in a different way than the regional park. We also have Irveside, which is also considered a community park. So large functions can happen here. The pavilion at Irveside is larger. There's parking for both of them. Then we come into our neighborhood parks. This is Villa here off of Price and Villa Road, and then Indian Meadows up here along the north. These are neighborhood parks, which means that we don't put those really big events in there. We can do neighborhood events and smaller community events, but we wouldn't put a really big festival in there. And then we have, coming down from that would be a pocket park, and that is Veterans Fountain. You can see right here on the corner of Dealman and Olive. This is a beautiful park with a fountain that's maintained by our partners with Olivet and Bloom. And then we have these purple areas that are really passive parks. And passive means that we won't put a program there. However, they're there for people to use. So our pathways and walkways, and we have a new pathway that'll be going in over here, excuse me, north of the new city center. And then we have the Centennial Greenway over here on our eastern border that will shortly be coming through Olivet and connecting this whole section of the city. So that's in a nutshell, that's our park system. And what does our park system provide for us? Why do we have this park system? Well, because of the benefits. Parks truly do make our lives better. They provide opportunities for us to have outside and be physical, but they also give us emotional and mental health benefits as well. Being able to be outside in the fresh air, in a wonderful habitat with lots of biodiversity, and the air quality improvement that comes from having a healthy urban forest. Parks also are economic drivers for communities. They bring in events, but they also help attract businesses and for lots of different reasons. It's important to have these parks. And homes that are located near parks actually have a higher property value, which is a really nice benefit. And lastly, our parks provide beautiful social equity for us. They create community. Everyone is allowed access to them, and they help foster community pride. So we are so fortunate to have this beautiful park system in Olivet, and it's our responsibility to care for it. So with that in mind, in 2016, the Parks and Recreation Commission started working on how do we care for these parks with a comprehensive plan rather than just haphazardly working on them. What is our plan and how do we develop that? So with funding through the City Council in 2017, we launched a Parks Master Plan to help address our parks for the next 10 years. And to do this, we brought on a contracting group, the Lawrence Group, and developed 5 key principles for this plan: connectivity, innovation, partnership, sustainability, and financial responsibility. So those are the core tenets that drove this process. With that, we started data collection. A lot of you participated in paper surveys, online surveys. We went out into the parks and talked to people while they were using the parks. We had small focus groups for a whole variety of different demographics. The Parks and Rec Commission, the Planning Commission, the City Council, and the city employees all provided input into this data collection. And we had our big public meetings. So all of you received these postcards. They probably look familiar. We learned that ice cream socials or providing food is a great draw. So we really are very thankful for everyone who came out to these public meetings and gave us information and then came back again and then vetted the information that we collected and where we were moving forward with that. So in 2018, the plan was approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission and recommended to the council, who adopted it. And we had several public meetings over that. And what does the plan entail? Well, here are some highlights. So the number one thing is that we have a lot of strategies in there to reduce our maintenance costs. We have a lot of expensive lawn area and when I say expensive because it costs a lot to mow it. So that's a financial cost, but it also is an environmental cost. As we all know, grass has very shallow roots, and water issues and erosion issues are not addressed by having grass. So really making sure that we are, as we renovate our plants, we're putting the appropriate plantings in. You'll see in a lot of our parks that we have a lot of standing water. We're trying to grow grass in areas where it doesn't grow. So by having a careful planting schedule that follows native plant guidelines and best practices, we can make our parks look better and reduce our overhead costs at the same time. Getting rid of our invasive species, very important. Having a wayfinding system so that people can get around our parks, making sure that all of our walking paths in our parks circle the whole park. We heard loud and clear from people that these are things that they really care about. They really want to be able to walk through the entire park, not just on a little strip of it. And making sure that we have interactive water elements in all the parks and expanding our dog areas. So those have all been, those were all things that we heard loud and clear from our residents, and those are all in our master plan. So moving forward with that, how do we implement this plan? We have a plan that goes across 10 years and being able to do a little bit every year. But the City Council decided that, you know what, let's see if we can accelerate that and do it a little bit faster. So we brought on a project manager. A lot of you will remember was our project manager for the new city center. And they helped us address this master plan. And as you saw on the previous slide, one of the things the master plan directed us to do was decide, what are you doing with the community center? You can't redevelop Warson Park without deciding what are you going to do with that community center. So then we brought on another consultant, Ballard King, to actually do an in-depth analysis for us. You know, what does the market tell us? Not just in Olivet, but in in a catchment area around it. Looking at everything from current trends, future trends. We brought in the public again to ask you, what do you want? Looking at what's being provided in other areas to make sure that we're not duplicating it. Making sure that we engage as a broad swath of people. And then what programs can we offer in there, both from what people want and then what can look at a little bit at cost recovery. So what would the operations be? Making sure we keep in mind that tenet we had with our park master plan of our financial responsibility and sustainability. If we build it, can we afford to operate it and maintain it into the future? So those were all really important components that we looked at in doing the analysis of this. And what did the plan find. So our key findings were that, one, we needed a new center. The old center would not be adequate. It needed to be multi-generational, not just for a specific demographic, but to serve all the ages in all of it. And it needed to be relocated, going up into the north section of Warson Park and the old Saints roller rink area for two reasons. One, so that we have a Warson Road entry, and two, so that we wouldn't negatively impact the neighbors that are so close around the current community center location. We heard loud and clear that people wanted a pool, but we also learned that a pool is too costly. We cannot afford it. However, we have opportunities to partner with other agencies around us so that our residents can potentially have use of other pools at the resident rate in those communities. So we are currently doing outreach with other cities to make that happen. And then what would be the best cost recovery benefits for us? A gymnasium, full size. Right now we offer pickleball. We have one court. With a full-size gymnasium, we could have 3 courts operating at the same time to make it a much better experience. Multi-purpose rooms that could be used for classrooms as well as for rentals and events. Having teaching classrooms, and then having a weight and cardio area. So those were the 4 main drivers for economic cost recovery. And what do we do with that? Well, we continued navigate on, and we started looking at, if we renovate all of our parks and we build a new community center, what costs be? Let's validate the information from the master plan, and what does that look like moving forward? So we took the master plan of each park, which you see. I encourage all of you to read through the master plan. It's available on our website, and you can read as much detail or as little detail as you prefer. But each of our 5 parks has a very detailed plan in there. I'll show you Irvside as a sample. So there's a specific drawing in there that shows you that, well, we talked about the meandering trails, making sure the trails loop through the entire park, removing invasive species, having appropriate signage, doing a lot of stormwater retention, and making sure that we have beautiful parks. So you'll find these detailed analysis for each of the parks in our system. Then we also paid for some renderings. What would it look like? And we didn't do a lot of these because they are expensive, but we did want to make sure that people could get a good idea of what this looks like. So for example, this is the proposed nature play area at Irvside Park, where this is where we embrace the issues we have there with stormwater and bioretention, but also make it a really natural, wonderful play area at the same time. So we're able to deal with some of the erosion and water issues and translate that into a really wonderful, exciting nature play area. And then another thing we learned when we talked about the water areas is making sure we have a water play area in each of our parks. This is a sample of the proposed splash plaza for Warson Park. And you'll notice in this picture that there are a lot of native plantings. You see there is mowed lawn area as well as the naturalized area. And then the water element itself is multi-purpose. So when the water's not spraying, it can also be a picnic pad. It could be an area for the neighborhood to have their neighborhood association picnics. It could be where they host Olivet Night Out. We could do a little pop-up movie there. So it's a lot more flexible. We're not just paying just for a splash park, we're paying for something that can be used all 4 seasons. And then this is a conceptual design of what would this community center look like? What would these areas that we talked about look like? So there is a conceptual drawing there for you that shows the different areas. This would be the multi-use rental area that can accommodate up to 150 people. The restroom facilities, offices for staff, the gymnasium here that shows the 3 pickleball courts. It could also be a full-size basketball court or 2 volleyball courts. We also have the weight cardio area over here, restrooms and locker rooms for the public. And we have this nice gathering area lobby. And then the other thing you'll notice is this yellow line that runs through the whole community center, and that's an indoor walking path. That's a path they call a grand tour because it takes you on a grand tour of the entire facility. And then as we talk about ways to be innovative, this community center has two other really innovative things. One is an indoor play area, which is something that is a future trend across the United States. There aren't a lot of these in St. Louis. This would be something that Olivet would be on the forefront with. The other thing is a teaching kitchen. So the kitchen that needs to be in a facility that you have rentals doesn't have to be just a catering kitchen. It can also be a facility where we have adult cooking classes. It could be used for parties. It could be used for children's cooking camps, all sorts of things. So it's a nice multi-use kitchen, which is another one of these future trends that you see across the United States. And again, it would be one of the first ones in a local community center. So we're pretty excited about this plan. And here are some renderings of what would this community center look like. So you'll notice here is Warson Road. This is the current driveway we have into the old Saints area of Warson Park. This is the current parking location that was there for the Saints. This would be the location of the new community center. It would be using the old site, and it would connect into the rest of the park. And then we have very nice entrance and exit onto North Warson Road, much safer and relocated away from its current location in the Warson Park. And this is a rendering of what it would look like from the side. So you notice that it's adjacent to the parking areas. We're maintaining these large trees, making sure we keep them in our design because they're so important. So looking at this, we've looked at this park renovation and looking at the community center. How really do we fund this? So in developing the budget in the master plan, you'll notice that the projects in there are divided into short-term, long-term, and vision plans. Because again, this is a 10-year plan. So what we're proposing with Prop C is to be able to fund the short-term and the long-term projects immediately, but we still have those vision projects out there. It doesn't build our whole plan, but it gets us started. And then remembering that this is a 10-year plan, we can then reassess those vision items as we progress through the years and touch back with everyone to make sure that those are still accurate as we go through the plan. And what would it cost? So in looking at that, the park plans, we went through with our contract agencies. They went through and vetted it, making sure that our price tags are accurate, that we really can build them, the design, the construction, and putting in a contingency. And you'll notice not all the costs are the same for each park. And the reason for that is that some parks are much larger, so you have a larger investment in there. We also have the community center costs broken out that include everything, including the furnishings once the doors would be open. And that brings us to a total of $5.5 million for park improvements, $10.5 million for the community center. We want to make sure we have the costs associated with having a bond in there for a total project amount of $16.2 million. And we pay for that. And we pay for that through a tax assessment of 14 cents per $100 of an assessed home. And how can we do that? How can we raise $16.2 million for only 14 cents of $100? Well, the reason for that is we're in a really special opportunity in the year 2020. The city has the ability to leverage our existing tax rate we pay for the bond that for the new city center. And this is similar to a cash out refinance of your residential home. So with historically low interest rates and with this opportunity in 2020, we're able to do this with a much lower impact on the tax rate. And this gives us a lot of buying power for a very low amount. The estimate for this is if your home is appraised at $250,000, you'd be paying about $6 a month. So that is an amazing opportunity for us. So in kind of checking back in with our park master plan, did these core tenets that we set out in the beginning. So we talked about our connectivity. So we're able to connect our parks with our pathways, with our wayfinding. We're able to connect our communities in the different aspects of Olivet. We have a lot of innovation coming into the parks. We have innovation in the community center as well as in the parks. We're developing these partnerships with Great Rivers Greenway, with 39 North, and maintaining our partnership with Olivet and Bloom. We're really working on the sustainability, both from a cost recovery standpoint, but also in making sure that we have biodiversity, we're using native plants, and we're doing retention of our stormwater. And then financially, we are building a foundation, we are reinvesting in our parks, and then we're leveraging our assets to be able to have a better buying power. So it's up to our residents to assess how we are doing in meeting those goals, but I am very confident in this plan that we really have addressed those. So that concludes my informational presentation. We were going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to turn everything back over to Mayor Springer.
Thank you.
And I think I need to stop sharing my screen. There we go.
That would be fun. Okay, so we're back. I know there are questions that are already popping up. I hope that this was an informative presentation, but just to be clear, we are going to be doing these informational sessions and actually an expanded version of this informational session every week now until the vote. The next one will be next Thursday, and that is an evening presentation that begins at 7 o'clock. You'll be able to click onto that live stream by going to the city's website, olivetmo.com/Prop C, and the link will be there for you to click onto the informational session. In addition to which, we'll be doing some mornings as well. And I'll look at my calendar to tell you which are the mornings, because I know some people prefer morning. But if you're signed on and signed up for the news alerts through the city, you will be able to, you'll get all of this pushed out to you. So I encourage everybody to the 19th of May will be an 8:45 a.m. presentation. The 28th of May will be a 7 p.m. presentation. And then on June 1st, it's going to be a free-for-all. It's going to be an all question and answer live stream on Prop C. So that will also be starting at 6 o'clock and going till 8 o'clock, 2 hours, questions and answers, everything you want to know about Prop C. So with that, I will turn this over to, well, what if I'll start reading the questions and we can start answering them. The first question is, following successful June vote, I love that optimism, any timeline involving Old and New Community Center? Will Old reopen for any period of time before the teardown? When will it close? And what is the projected opening of the New Community Center? Who would like to answer that question?
Okay, I will, I'm going to start answering that question, and then I'm also going to refer to Barbara Sondag, our city manager, for any of these questions that sometimes she has a little bit more expertise in than I do. But following a successful June vote, we'll move forward with our project management team, Navigate, and our architect, KAI, and landscape architect, DTLS. We are prepared with the background we have that we could move forward with that. The old community center will stay in operation until the new one is up and running. We have ongoing programs in there, and we'd really like to keep those going. And it's heartbreaking that we're not open right now. The programs that we offer in the community center are so important because we have a lot of senior participants in there. We have exercise classes, we have our summer camps. We have so much going on in there, and it's so hard for us not to be open. And we look forward to reopening with the appropriate CDC and county health guidelines as soon as we can. So we will continue to operate as the new center is being built. And as far as when that is, I'm going to turn that question over to Barb.
Well, thank you. At this point in time, it's hard to say exactly when that construction will occur. The city has the conceptual design done by our engineering firm KAI that will need to go into actually a preliminary and then a final design, and that'll take us. So I anticipate that construction will start probably maybe at the end of this year. But possibly into 2021. And so that with an opening, would hope probably in 2021. They are looking at doing both park improvements and the community center concurrently. So I think that should help.
Okay. I'll ask, next question is, would be interested in hearing how the city is thinking about coronavirus, healthy spaces in the new building, from physically changing to operating and maintenance, total cost of operations.
Do you want me to take that, or do you want to? Okay. Well, I can tell you that, wow, we have been spending quite a bit of time just right now looking at, when we open our doors back up to the public, what's that going to look like, and what things do we need? And we've been putting orders in, and we're preparing for that. With regard to any kind of new spaces, that's clearly, as you said, that's the new normal. And I anticipate that will be part of that engineering and that discussion, and ensuring that that we're going to be in a really good place to ensure some of the social distancing, and being prepared if there's another uptick. Now, with that said, some of the activities that we have in that we plan on having in the community center, the new community center, and the existing community center, just aren't going to be possible if we have to maintain, a 6-foot social distance, those types of things. But again, I think that's a current state. I don't anticipate that being a forever state. But I think we will be looking into the engineering of that building and looking at, okay, something like this pops up again. Are we ready? And is our building ready?
Okay, I hope that answered your question. Next question. How long will it take to complete the work outlined?
We asked Navigate to put that together. And again, I'm going to, some of some of the park work is going to be done relatively quickly, and again, relatively quickly. The construction of a new facility, that obviously will take a little bit longer, a little more of the engineering to be done. So I would anticipate that, again, we would start the process pretty quickly after the successful bond vote, and that we would have a lot of work done mid to late 2021.
Okay, I hope that answered that question. How about police patrols located in larger parks?
Currently, the police are, when you look at our larger parks, it's actually the size of the park doesn't necessarily equate to the ease or difficulty of patrolling. For instance, Stacy Park is pretty easy for the police to patrol because they can drive, and they can go all the way down over to Warson area and drive back, and it's very easy for them to see what's going on. The same is really true with Warson. You have some of the smaller parks are actually a little bit harder because they don't have that. The officers do need to get out into the car. And we do know, like Indian Meadows, they have several different places where they're able to pull aside, look, and get out of their car. They can also, they do walk. We haven't had a bike patrol for a couple of years now, but I would be interested in getting that reinitiated as well.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'm losing my space here. Hold on. I apologize. What happened to? Just a comment. I apologize. Just a comment, not a question. It's relatively easy to request an absentee ballot from this. I'll get into that in a second with everybody about absentee ballot. Someone is saying they can't hear you, Barb. Bill is making comment, and this is good to know, Bill, thank you. Sorry, if you choose to go to your polling place on June 2nd, keep in mind election judges will be provided gloves and facial masks. Social distance will be practiced at the polling locations with election workers at the sign and table. Alcohol wipes will be provided to clean the stylus after each voter. That's good to know. Liquid hand sanitizer will be available for voters as they enter the polling location. Pens at the polling locations. Oops.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops.
That was me.
That's okay.
There you
I
go.
just lost. Did I lose it? Well, I
Pens,
apologize.
voting tables will be cleaned every hour with sanitizing wipes, and blue tape will be provided to mark the floor at 6 feet intervals for voters waiting to be processed.
Okay. So let's see. So the next question is, this is not a question about parks, but what will be going into the Olive and Price new development?
At this point, the announcement's been made of a hotel, and the developer has not made any further announcements at this point. And he was actually, he was our guest, Mayor Waldman's guest last month, and that was kind of there is more information on the website keepproperties.com.
Okay, next question. How will the delay of the vote on Prop C affect the outcome? I know we have not had any experience with situations like this, but do we have any predictions on whether this will improve the outcome of the vote on Prop C? Boy, I wish my crystal ball could come back from the cleaner. She's had it for a while. I think Olivet is a very educated community, and I believe that they understand the value that parks have had today, right now, more than ever. People have been in our parks. As Beverly said, we've been able to keep the parks open because the people in Olivet understand this situation. They respect social distancing. They understand that social distancing has helped flatten the curve. And I think they put a high value on their park system. Having said all of that, I understand all the other things that are going on in people's lives. And so it'll be a decision that they have to make. I'm hoping that people will look longer term as opposed to shorter term and understand that this is an investment in their community, number one, but it's an investment in their homes. It's an investment in just an all-around sort of way that benefits everybody and everything in our, not just our community, but in our surrounding area. So I'm hoping that people will see the positive to this and not listen, because I know there's a lot of negativity out there, not listen to that and truly think this through for themselves. I hope that answered your question. And I will be checking on that crystal ball. I want to know where it is. Let's see.
Mayor Springer, I think there's a question that came in at 9:07. I'm not sure, we may have already answered it, but I want to make sure that it,
Okay, go ahead.
It says, the question is, with our current situation, has thought been given to update the plan for a new community center to address the new normal, i.e. social distancing? And I think that was similar to the other question that we had, but I do want to make sure that everybody has their question acknowledged.
This is a really good question too, because this addresses the flip side of what I just said about being positive. In the unlikely, I love that attitude, and inconceivable, again, love that attitude, event of a negative vote, any thoughts of the future for the community center?
well, I'm happy to answer that question. We struggle in our in our old community center, and we'll keep it open as long as we can. We have some serious deficiencies in the building that will be hard to overcome. We do repairs as necessary. Like, for example, right now, before we reopen, we have some urinal valves and toilet valves that have to be replaced in order to have the men's restroom working. Those types of things we can address. We can paint, we can repair broken windows, but what happens is the infrastructure of the building is slowly failing. So I can make repairs to anything on the plumbing we can see from above ground, but unfortunately, the way the building is constructed, things like our drainage pipes and everything else are encased in concrete. And it is very, very costly to do those types of repairs. We're unable to do major electrical upgrades because of the way the building is constructed. So those types of things will preclude us in the long run from being able to make substantial renovations to the building. The residents enjoy the community center, the ones that use it now, and we will do our best to keep it open for them as long as possible. And I'm not
Thank you.
else wants to add on to that.
I just want to say that I think all of us recognize, whether it's an old car or in this case, this community center, you can continue to put money into it, but at some point, there are things that you cannot do to it. You can't, because of the nature of the building, as Beverly said, and it will never be what a new building will be. And I think in looking at building a new community center, one of the biggest improvements that will happen, especially for the people who live around it, is that we will move it outside of the neighborhood and push it further into Orson Park. And so all of that traffic and noise that happens there now will no longer be there for them. And, I think that's a benefit for that entire area. And I think makes a statement about what Orson Park is. It is a large, large park that deserves the stature of having an entrance off of Orson and a community center that's worthy of that entire park. And it will be spectacular when it's done. And just as an aside, the people who worked on the new city center, Navigate, and the city manager they are like, I don't mean this in a negative way, dogs with a bone. They push and push and push to get the absolute best value for the dollar that we spent. As you can see, the city center it's beautiful, but they worked really, really, really hard to be able to make that a beautiful center for the money that we had to spend. And I know that the money that the residents would approve would be treated in the same way. We will get an amazing amount of value for that money. So, and that's just my personal experience having worked with them very closely in the building of the city center. So, all right. Next question, statement. Ruth, I'm a poll worker assigned to U City for June 2nd, and St. Louis County Board of Election anticipates a very low turnout, less than 10%. I would expect the physical presence to be really low, but because they emailed, so let me get into this. If you are over 60 years old, you will have received in the mail 3 absentee ballot application forms, one for June, one for August, and one for November. And I think they did this particularly to this demographic because that demographic is the most vulnerable to coronavirus and to the complications that come with the coronavirus. And I do think you're going to see a higher voter turnout in that age group because of the ease of getting an absentee ballot. Now, I've sent in for my absentee ballot, which automatically tells you how old I am. So I've sent in for my absentee ballot, and my husband has sent in for his too. I'm curious to see, I sent it about 3 days ago. I'm curious to see how fast it comes back. The cutoff for sending and having them receive your request for an absentee ballot is May 20th. So if you have received that in the mail, don't delay, because then you're going to have to turn around and send it back to them, because if they don't have your ballot by 5 p.m. on June 2nd, your vote will not count. So if you're voting and you want to do it absentee, fill out the form, sign it, send it back, get your absentee ballot, and do whatever it is you need to do on your absentee ballot. So, but I do think you're right, Bill. I think physical voter turnout will be low. What happens with the absentee, that's a really unknown. Next question, what percentage vote for Prop C to pass is necessary? Barb?
I believe it's 57%.
I believe you are right.
Yep, 57%.
Right, so anytime you pass a tax levy on residents, it cannot be just a simple majority. It has to be greater than that, and it is 57%. Make sure you enclose a photocopy of your driver's license with the ballot after you receive it in the mail, or they won't accept it without a notary stamp. Okay, and that answers, thank you, Bill. You're just a warehouse of information for us today. I love that. That's my unknown. I didn't realize, and I didn't know what we would need once you get that absentee ballot. I have helped a friend filled one out one time and he needed, and I wasn't sure if he needed the notary or not. So that is true. You need a notary. That will be difficult to find in today's world. You'd have to make an appointment at the bank to go in and get that done. UPS store also, they have a notary there. But if you can simply enclose a copy of your driver's license and that will be sufficient for them, then make sure you do that, because you want your vote to count. So thank you, Bill, for reminding everybody about that. And maybe we can put that out on our website too, as one of the Q&As. And, we have a lot of information for people on the website. People just need to go and look. There's a lot of information there.
Mayor, I made a mistake, and I answered I typed in that 57% to the wrong question. So there is another question from Andrew that says, is the cost of the demolition of and the recovery of that land included with Proposition C? And what will that current property look like after the demolition? The cost is included in the Prop C, and Beverly, I'll let you talk about what that would look like.
Okay. So in the area of the former community center, there's a nice description in the master plan, but it would entail a children's playground for the neighborhood that is around that area. It would retain one of the parking lots, not both. It would have the water feature that we saw the rendering of, and one of the vision plans that would be not funded in this, but in a future plan, would be a community garden section for the neighborhood there, for people to be able to grow their own produce. And those types of projects, those vision projects that aren't funded through this, we have opportunities to pursue grants for those, or there may be people that want to take, or organizations that want to take that on and do that themselves. And having that master plan allows us to enable that to happen, even if it doesn't happen immediately with the bond vote. So those areas that area of the former community center would have like a neighborhood park feel for the people that live off of Grandview and Forsythia and that section.
Okay. We have one more question, and I don't know the answer to this, Sue. Do you know if you got an absentee ballot for the April date, will you automatically get a ballot for June? Did you, if you voted your absentee ballot, then that is your vote. You're not going to get a chance to go back again and change your vote. That's number one. I do know that. If you did not send your absentee ballot, if you didn't send your ballot back for the April election, I suspect it's still valid. Oh, Bill's answering my question. I love this. You need a separate absentee ballot request for each election. Thank you, Bill. Bill is our go-to guy. I don't have to call over to Board of Elections. I'm just going to call you, Bill. That's it. Because I'm sure it's really crazy to get in touch with them over there. So thank you, Bill. Sue, did that answer your question? I hope that you will need a separate absentee ballot request. And if you're not over 60, they wouldn't have automatically sent it to you. So you will need to request that. You can do it. Yes, but they didn't send it. That's interesting. You might have to call over to them because I don't have an answer for you about that.
You can, if someone else has one, they can make a copy, and you can copy those request forms and send it.
You can copy that request. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
There's Bill Machin has his hand up, Mayor.
Okay.
I will. I've unmuted him, so he should be. If he unmutes himself, he should be able to ask his question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Barb. I forgot to unraise.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, thanks, Bill. Thanks for being on today too.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know how this is going to work. If you can all respond just quickly, I have a question for you. So, in addition to some of my other things that I do to serve public, I will assume the responsibility of the president of the Municipal League in June. For those who are unfamiliar with what the Municipal League of St. Louis County is, it's the league that represents all of the municipalities throughout the county. So that term will be for 1 year. And part of my responsibility and part of the things that I do for that is I have an opportunity to speak every other week with the county executive, and the 3 members of the executive board hold a meeting with him once a week. And I think it puts me and you, all of you, in a really unique position because I can give him lots of feedback from the things that you say to me and you share with me. And one of the things that I'd like to share with him at the next meeting is how do all of you feel about if the county opens up, are you comfortable now coming out into the public, and what would make you comfortable? What comfort level would you have? You can email me if you'd like. My email, I'm going to say it now, but you can find it on the website too, is rspringer@olivetmo.com. And if you simply email me, I'm comfortable, I'm not comfortable. I would only come out if everybody wore a mask. And I don't know exactly the policies and procedures the county executive is going to put in place, but I'd like to be able to give him feedback about my particular community. So I'm happy to, it will be hard to, I think, to do this, even if we unmute everybody. I don't know. We could try.
I have
unmuted people, everyone, Mayor,
Okay.
and if someone would like to speak, they would just need to unmute themselves, and then
Okay.
they can just start talking.
Okay.
I have a comment about your information collection about the comfort level of
Yes.
coming out. Put up a survey. Use Survey Monkey and collect information that way rather than everybody sending you email.
We can do that. I don't know how many emails we actually have, Mr. Schwartz, so I'd have to see if we have enough, then it becomes a valid survey. If not, then it's really not a valid survey, but that's a great suggestion, and I will see if we can get that done. Thank you.
Ruth,
Yes.
hi, Susan Waggy here.
Hi, Susan, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. First of all, I just wanted to reiterate, I thought this was a very well presented discussion, and kudos to Beverly and Barb and City Council for putting this together. But concerning being comfortable or uncomfortable, my husband and I, my husband hasn't been out of the house for 7 weeks. He actually works from home right now. I'm the only one that's been going out, and today was the first time I had gone out to Schnucks, which, by the way, I thought since March 27th, when I went there then, and when I went there today, it was a much improved situation, and I felt better. Yesterday, I happened to go over to Chevy's, and because it was Cinco de Mayo, and I thought I would pick up some food, and that was less. I was very nervous. They just did not have that set up correctly. People were in there without masks. There were people in there that were not picking up food. They were actually with another individual. So without a mask, just walking around and not paying any attention.
Oh, you just left.
Pardon?
Oh, you left early.
You can keep talking, Susan.
Oh, okay. So it's, a plus and a minus. I go to Hardeke's. I've been to Hardeke's. You're supposed to wait outside. But then there are people, as I stand there waiting for them to call me in, other people walk right past me without masks and go inside. So, it's just, from an older person's standpoint, for someone who had type A influenza in January and who understands how easy it is to come down with something, I think people need
Talking about how
to be a little more, that they just need to make a rule, as they do at Schnucks, that you should have your mask on, that you will not be served if you don't have one, and you need to keep your social distance. Perhaps a specific signage that is adopted by the community, so it's the same throughout, would be extremely helpful.
Okay, I will pass that along. Thank you.
Sorry for taking so long.
No,
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And
Anybody?
thank you for serving on the board.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Anybody else?
Ruth,
Yes.
it's Bill. I had a similar experiences to what Susan was talking about. It tends to be hit and miss depending on the store you go to with people having masks or not. I am not comfortable going out, and I don't think I will be for a fairly long time without being nervous. Until people start respecting the mask recommendation and social distancing on a more consistent level.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, no.
No, Mayor, may I just add on to that, that at the city, we are really trying to model good behavior. Beverly and I, as you can see, we're far away from each other. And we will be, when we do reopen to the public, we will be requiring masks. We will of people when they come in. We are spending quite a bit of time trying to figure out how do we, when court reopens, what's that going to look like? Different things. And so we greatly appreciate the comments that I'm hearing today, because it makes me very comfortable and confident in the direction in which we're going.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would agree. Go ahead, Jim.
And Mayor, I think we need to listen to Dr. Garza as far as the pandemic task force for St. Louis County, that we can be looking at. We can figure out everything that we want to do, but we really need to listen to the science and the medicine on this.
Okay.
Yes,
I agree. Science over politics.
Yeah, I definitely would agree too. I have a public health background, so just to continue to educate people how dangerous this virus is. And what worries me sometimes, out walking, and my husband and I try to get some fresh air every day, but sometimes you'll have people on bikes just kind of whipping by you on the side, or children being pretty free to roam without some parental direction. And so I do think the more we can educate our community about the dangers of the virus and our responsibility to keep everyone safe as possible is so important. So thank you for your service and keeping us updated on everything.
Well, as Barb said, we are working diligently to keep the center safe, to keep you safe. If you have to come in here, we're moving it at the appropriate, I think, pace, in keeping with the county's orders and that sort of thing. I mean, for me, a personal note, I'm a lot like Susan's husband. It's only recently I've started to take walks outside. I just haven't been comfortable. I've not seen the inside of Schnucks for probably 7 or so weeks. I'm going to have somebody explain it all to me when I go back. That means that, my husband has been doing the shopping, and we've been very, very careful about making sure that whatever comes into our house is safe for us. It is, as we said, it's a very brave new world, and I applaud all of you who are making it all happen from wherever you are and however you're doing it. And just know that we're going to continue to try to keep everybody as safe as possible. And that requires everybody to take some responsibility to do that for themselves as well. So I have a chat question. So Bill Machin and I invariably will run into each other either at Schnucks or Whole Foods. And he just said that that's why he hasn't seen me there, because I have not been there. Whole Foods actually sent me a note, Bill, asking if I was okay, because they hadn't seen me either. So, if no one else has any other questions or comments, I think we're going to wrap it up. I will tell you that I missed all of you. I do hope that there will come a time when we can all be back together again. I miss baking for all of you, for the ones who know that that's what I used to do. I do miss baking for you, and I hope I can get back to doing that again soon. I have been accumulating recipes, and I will tell you that I have bought 4 cookbooks in the time that I've been confined at home. I'm probably going to have to go to some sort of group meeting about that, but we'll worry about that later. So yeah, so I do miss you, and I am anxious for all of us to get back together again when it's appropriate. So thank you, everybody. I don't know when I'm going to do Coffee with the Mayor again. You will get notified. These are going to be a little more not unscheduled. They'll be scheduled, but they're not going to be on a regular day yet. I think when we get back into City Center, I'm going to try to put them on a regular scheduled day. But for right now, it will be a Wednesday. I just don't know if it'll be the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday. So bear with us until we can get back into a rhythm of things again. And that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the day. Stay safe, please. Wear your mask. Bye.
Bye-bye.